friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making tamale pie. But before I get started, I wanted to say one thing because I've been having a lot of new people coming in wanting me to talk more about herbs and stuff. And just so you understand how my channel works, I like to do my herb profiles during the time of the year when my herbs are really looking good so I can get you outside and show the herbs while I'm talking about them. So that's when you'll see most of my herb profiles. So if you want to see some of the videos I put out in the past about herbs, you can go ahead and find the link to the playlist right up here, and maybe I'll put it in the end cards as well. And you can see what I've done so far, but I have much more I plan on covering this spring and summer. So be watching for those. Wintertime is when I tend to focus more on recipe type videos. So let's get started on the tamale pie. All right, what I have here is some goat milk that I'm going to go ahead and put in my 1 cup measuring cup because I'm going to do 1 cup of goat milk. You can use any milk you want. It could be nut milk, whether it be cashew milk or almond milk or even pecan milk, which I just made some pecan milk yesterday for the first time, trying the pecan. Oh my gosh, so good. I love it. And then I'm going to add at least a tablespoon of my homemade apple cider vinegar. At least I think this one's the apple because of the color. I make all kinds of vinegar, and if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that. If not, go find my vinegar playlist. I have tons. So then I'm just going to let that go ahead and sit in there and kind of clabber that milk a little bit. And that just makes for a good bread, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now let's focus on the filling of the tamale pie. What I have here is about 1 pound of venison burger that I just browned up. This is the venison that Patrick got this year, and I'm going to put that in there. You can use less or more if you want. It's all up to you. About 1 pound is pretty much going to be standard for this recipe. And this isn't the way I used to make it years ago. This is just the way I do it now. It's the easiest way for me to do this. And now I'm going to be adding a whole quart jar of my home canned tomatoes directly in there, just like that. We'll go ahead and mix that around a little bit. Okay, and now I've got about a small to medium onion that I chopped up, and a whole bunch of garlic. This is my garden garlic. And here you can see I'm getting to the bottom of my first jar of garden garlic that I fermented. And what I used in here, just to show you by amount, since I already have it chopped up, was I just took a scoop about like that, because we like lots of garlic. And it doesn't stop there when it comes to the garlic, but I'll be getting to that in a minute. Okay, gotta mix that in there real good. Now, if you want, you can choose to put all this in the pan and simmer it first. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore, partially because I use so many dehydrated ingredients. I don't find it necessary, and I try to not overcook things if I can help it, because the less you cook stuff, the more nutrients you're going to get from it. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding my mixed greens blend like I do to almost every meal I make. And I'm going to put in at least 2 tablespoons, up to 1/4 cup. You don't want to get too carried away, because if you go past 1/4 cup, it can change the flavor. But I'm just starting with a couple of tablespoons. And then I want to put in about a tablespoon of oregano. This is homegrown oregano and dehydrated. And cumin is a must for your tamale pie. Now, I suggest for you, depending on how much flavor you like, starting with just a teaspoon. Me, I'm going to put up to a tablespoon. I love cumin. Some people don't like it as much. I just love it, especially when it comes to tamale pie or homemade tamales, which I do those too, and I'll do a video on that someday down the road. But anyway, then some chili powder. Now this, you might want to add just a tablespoon to start with. Me, I put, just like I do with the cumin, I put 3 times that much. So I've got 3 tablespoons of chili powder in there. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and add some more granulated garlic. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of that, or some more garlic anyway, because I like using garlic in all forms, dried, slices, granulated, and the fresh or fermented garlic. Because as much garlic I can get in there, the better. Alone the fact that it's just so good for you. So I got all of my herbs and spices in there that I want in this. And now I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt. And now, one more thing I'm going to add in here are my home canned kidney beans. So just one of those things that just makes this so nice. And if you're wanting to go more vegetarian, just double up on the kidney beans and cut out the meat. Just makes it easy that way. If you get it all put together, like I said, you can simmer it to simmer out some of that liquid if you want, or you can do what I like to do. Now the herbs and stuff in there will soak up some more of that water as it sits, but you can also add some tomato flakes or powder. These are from my garden grown tomatoes, and I have a video on making these flakes, and I'll go ahead and link to that right up here. And what this will do is not only just add more tomato flavor in there, but it will also thicken that up so it has better consistency, because you don't want it too soupy. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit and soak all that up. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and throw a few more mixed greens in there. I usually like to wait and see how things look before I add more of the mixed greens. Oh, I forgot one more thing, and that is, again, a matter of taste, is the black olives. So I'm going to strain out, usually I put a whole can of sliced black olives in there, but these I'd opened up for the hummus, and I'm just going to go ahead and put what's left in here so I don't have to open another whole can. Okay, dump those in there. Gotta have those olives in there. We love the black olives in our tamale pie. I'm going to let this sit and let the dehydrated herbs and tomatoes soak up that liquid, and then we'll check it, and if I need to add some more tomato flakes, I'll do that. Okay, now on to the cornbread topping. So how much cornmeal you use, again, it's another one of those things that's a matter of choice, a matter of taste. Typically, you know, like the first batch of cornbread I ever made was when I was 9 years old, made it totally from scratch all by myself, and no parental supervision. And I followed the recipe to the T, and it turned out excellent. But it was, you used half flour, half cornmeal. Now, this is non-GMO cornmeal, so don't freak out. For this, I like to use 1.5 cups of cornmeal and then reduce the flour down to just 1/2 cup. So what I have here is my own home milled whole wheat flour, and I'm going to go ahead and add that in there. And then about a teaspoon of salt. And I either use the Himalayan salt or the red mineral salt. I highly recommend the red mineral salt. I've got a lot of Himalayan that I bought years ago. I'm still trying to work through, but Redmond is my favorite, and it's mined in Utah, so here in the United States. Okay, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of baking powder. One of the things I was thinking about trying in the cornbread today was using my my blend of nut flours here from the pulp, dehydrating the pulp from the different nut milks I made. This has coconut, almond, and pecan flours in it. But I decided to leave it out of this, especially since Mr. Rain doesn't like pecans. So I was afraid maybe he might be able to taste it in there. But I gotta figure out something to sneak it into. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and pour in my milk. It's really kind of helpful with your cornbread if you have it more on the runny side for the, you know, and not too bready, not too thick. It's going to make it easier for putting on top of your tamale pie, because this is going to be basically your crust for your tamale pie. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add some oil, about 1/4 cup of avocado oil. You can use olive oil, you can use coconut oil, whatever good healthy oil you prefer. And 1 whole egg. Look at the color of that. Just love those farm fresh eggs. And I love that I have my own chickens with my own eggs. It's been just so beautiful and wonderful. So anyway, mix that up good, and then again, what I'm going to do is allow this to sit. I like to let my batters for breads, pancakes, stuff like that, just to kind of sit for a bit. And just sit and soak, and it should kind of start to fluff up a little bit and get very bubbly. Okay, so coming back to this, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is add a few more tomato flakes, and then I'm going to let this sit for a little bit longer. And I will come back when we're all ready for the next step, which is going to involve 8 ounces of organic Valley cheese. This is the cheddar cheese. Okay, so now that my mixture here has been soaking, all the dehydrated ingredients have soaked up a good amount of the excess liquid, and I remembered to add the paprika. I forgot to mention that earlier. I put in about a tablespoon of this. Again, might be just start with a teaspoon if this is new to you. And the next step is to put in the cheese. Now, what I like to do with my cheese when I buy it like this is I freeze it, and then all I have to do is just crumble it up, because I hate grating cheese. Once you freeze it, it just crumbles super, super easy, and there's no need for grating. See how simple that is? So I love that. I just love that. I just can't get over how great that is, even though I've been doing it this way for years. Then I'm going to put my cornbread mixture on the top of the cheese. Now, I have seen recipes before where people will put the cheese on top of the cornbread instead of the other way around, but the problem with that is your cornbread's not going to get browned on top when you go to bake it. So remember, this is a tamale pie, so the cornbread should be seen as the crust. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pour that right over the top, and that is a nice consistency. You can see when you let that just sit and soak, it doesn't look quite as runny, because the cornmeal, the dried cornmeal, has had a chance to soak up that milk, all your liquid ingredients and the egg and all that kind of stuff. All right, so now this is ready to go in my toaster oven, but I'm not going to be baking it for quite a while, because this is one of those things that I can easily get done early in the day, especially if I'm needing to shoot a video, and I can just put my lid on it and let it sit until I'm ready to bake it. And you can stick it in the fridge if you want. And this is why I love using these pans that came with my Solarverse solar oven. I use these all year round because they're so great for cooking on the wood stove with. They already have a lid, so even if I'm not going to bake it with the lid on, I can put the lid on when it's done just to preserve it. I don't have to waste saran wrap or aluminum foil or anything like that. I hate using that kind of stuff anyway. And when I'm ready to bake this, I'll be baking it in my toaster oven at 400 degrees, and I usually start at about 30 minutes, and then I'll check it, and then maybe go up to 45 minutes. It just depends. Typically in the toaster oven, since it's pretty close to the element, 30 minutes is usually good. It gets it nice and brown on top. So if you're doing this in your regular conventional oven, 400 degrees, I would say start, the same way, start at 30 minutes. You may need to go up to 45 minutes, keeping it uncovered so that the cornbread will get browned on top. Now, this is one of the things I won't cook on the wood stove because I don't have an oven. I don't have a cook wood stove. I just have a regular wood stove, and the cornbread would never really get browned on top unless I used a Dutch oven and put coals on the top. Typically though, I can run my toaster oven off of our solar power a good part of the year, so that's nice too. But even when I have to rely on public power, the toaster oven's going to use a lot less power than our conventional oven. And I don't even have a very big toaster oven. And I'll go ahead and link to the one that I use below. I love it. I've been using it for years. So great way to save electricity, even if you're not on solar, is to go with a toaster oven, because you're not heating up this whole big conventional oven just for something that like this without the lid on will fit perfectly in my toaster oven. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and, since I'm not going to be baking this for a few hours yet, I'll go ahead and insert some pictures of this when it's all finished so you can see what it looks like right here. what I do, since this is a good sized batch, this is enough to serve a family of at least 6 to 8. And it really is just me and Mr. Rain. And I have not yet gotten into the habit with this kind of stuff of cooking smaller batches, but I'm fine with that because what I like to do, so if it's just 2 of you, you can still make a batch like this. We'll eat on it for maybe a couple of nights, but then to prevent us from getting food fatigue, I can just freeze up the rest in my Snap Lock containers and then pull them out whenever I want. If I need a quick meal, that I can just then, I can take the glass lock and I can either set it right on the wood stove. Usually I put it on I don't put it, I'll let it thaw first, get to room temperature, then I'll put it on the wood stove, or I can bake that in the toaster oven, just let it heat through, and there we go. We've got pretty much an instant dinner that was all homemade. So that's some other options you can do if you're like me and you still like to cook big, even though there's only 2 of you left. Well, I almost forgot one more thing. This is the kind of stuff that I realize when I start cleaning up after I'm done with the video, and that is I've got some salsa verde here that I made from our own tomatillos from this last summer, and this is what we'll be serving on the tamale pie. So having some salsa to go with it is really, really great. It's just going to add that extra boost of yumminess to it, so I recommend that. And there we go. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll give this recipe a try. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.